afternoon, everybody. This is Rick McBroom from beautiful Point Royale. Today we got a real treat for you. I'm going to be talking to Miss Ruth Smith.
Hi.
And Ruth's going to tell you her own story, some of the issues she's had here at Point Royale. And it's not just me, of course, and I promised you that I would also bring you interviews with other people. So today we're going to be talking with Ruth. And Ruth, how you doing?
I'm doing fine.
Okay. What we're going to do is just kind of go through this a little bit, and you go through your story and let everybody know what's happened to you and how you feel since you've been here. You've been here, what, 4 years?
4 years.
4 years? Okay. Well, we're glad you're here. Thanks for being brave enough to get on camera and let everybody see you. So,
Well, I'm fine getting on camera.
okay.
Not because I need to be on camera, but because I want to be a part of what's going on here.
Well, good. So you've seen things that probably need to be improved, right?
I see there are some attitudes that need to be improved. The first time I came in to a meeting to see what they did, there were maybe 15 people there. I'm going, goodness, nobody really comes to this. Wonder why. A lady stood up to try to say something, and they actually said you're out of order. And I'm going, why? There was a lawyer there, was there be a great intimidator. And so she sat down, and I thought, this is not right. Isn't there free speech here?
There is. I also know there's some procedures they have to follow. But,
okay.
Well, part of the problem I've seen since I've been here is they don't follow the procedures themselves. So how do they expect other people to do that? Our bylaws, for instance, are here for everybody's protection and for our rights. And yet our management, some of the board members and so on, they violate those bylaws every single day because they don't follow into what their agenda is for.
Well,
so it could be that's what happened. Maybe it wasn't quite into the procedures, and I don't know. But I look at it like this: couldn't they have been a little nicer of how to explain that to her and say, "Well, we need the procedures we need to follow. We'll be glad to answer your questions in a few minutes," or something. But
yes.
What you're saying, they didn't do that.
Not at all. I am so thrilled that they painted a berm circle that had the stucco. But what happened is they didn't want to do the back side and just paint it white. Well, when it's brown and lovely looking in the front, why not do the back? So finally I did talk to John about that. And what I found out is at the budget meeting, they had the budget in sooner. They had the painting, the job done sooner and under budget by $13,500.
Now we're talking about the condos, correct?
The condos. Yes, they're all condos on Berm Circle. And there were some things about stucco on ours that indicated there's some kind of problem under that stucco they needed to check out first, but it was just all painted. They need to take the 13.5 and go over there and see what's really going on with that.
Well, I was there a few days ago and I took some photographs. They look really nice.
Yes, they do.
The painting looked fine. It looked
yes.
like they did a pretty good job. The problem I found was there was big gaps between the retaining walls and the garage portion, I believe it was. At least that's what I saw. And I also saw where some of the stucco is beginning to bubble off of the side of the building, which is going to crack and break. And if it cracks and water gets in there this winter, it gets cold, swells up, it's going to knock all the stucco off of it. So what you're saying is they had two bids,
They had two bids, and so I was surprised about the 13.5 under budget because the stucco needs to be fixed also.
So the budget was supposed to include the stucco.
Well, I understand they had two options, that they could do just the paint job or the paint and stucco repair, and they didn't choose the repair, only the paint.
So they only painted it. So we still have a problem with maintenance there on the at Berm Circle, retaining walls coming apart.
Right.
And these aren't small cracks. We're talking about 2 to 3 inches.
You're right.
Crack. You put your hand into those cracks.
Yes. And what I felt like they did, I remember in trying to get John to paint the back brown as well as the front, he really didn't want to do that. And so what I realized, there was pressure for him to come under budget. And, you know, that's not good.
So John's the head of the maintenance for the condos? Is that
He was, right? And now Vaughn's is.
How's he doing?
Right now, Fawn has a very professional attitude, and he remembers what he did. I mean, I think there was way too much pressure on John.
Well,
That's his personal statement.
Is John still here? Is he
Yes.
still working?
Yes, he's part-time working,
Okay.
and funds need to totally be. He's a kind person and a professional, and anyway, that did not work out well. I was in my condo 2 years ago, and it was icy out. Had a coat on, and I wasn't planning on going down the steps, but I was down the steps in 1 second. They had been coming over and putting salt and stuff on there, but they quit doing that. It took me 1 hour because I had to do one spindle at a time to get myself up. And so I went in, I said, Misty, can I just be a little late and you not charge me $25? No. I said, well, this goes to the board. Let them know. No, that's not possible. When you send something to the board, you'd like there to be that one. Maybe all of them are just really rule-oriented.
What were you wanting an extension on? Was that a maintenance fee or something? Or
well, that was the first. That was in January when the ice was on, and so I just knew I was close. Give me another month. Nope, couldn't do that.
What happened after that?
Well, I did pay it, but I noticed also that someone else had a death and was asking for that and didn't get it. There could be just enough humanity to say, you know, we could do that for you. I mean, obviously I've been here for a while and paid everything on time.
Yeah, and I totally
just
agree.
Consider that.
Yeah, I completely agree. This is one of the problems we have here is compassion and having a little more neighborly response to things other than ruling with an iron fist.
Yes.
I've been through the bylaws. They stayed in there, of course. Everybody has to pay their fees and they have to pay them on time and so on. It says, or you could be taken to court for these. The problem is that's an option. It doesn't say you have to, which means the office can go to the board and ask for extensions or a little bit of leeway one way or another. But when the office completely cuts you out,
yes,
and has no compassion for you, is that really the kind of place that we want here? You know, in the way that they treat people.
So I'm not happy with the way that we're treated as underlings. I mean, it just reminds you of deplorables of. Anyway.
Well, we didn't. Nobody here called anybody deplorables, but they did call us dysfunctional.
No. Well, maybe that's a step up. Who knows?
Maybe it is. I don't know. But I definitely know if not agreeing with them makes me dysfunctional, then I'm very dysfunctional because I don't agree with the way things have been running. I think everybody knows that.
I'm dysfunctional too.
Well, then we're all in a big basket together because there's a lot of people here that's you know, not happy with the way things are.
Well, if you live somewhere, you have to have a feeling of kindness. I mean, they don't have to really gather around you just because you came in and fell down the steps and spent 3 days in bed. I mean, and an hour getting up on the ice.
Oh, I agree.
No, I'm sorry. I'm going.
You're doing great. A lot of this I'm going to cut out.
Cut out a bunch. Please.
This is the part I'm going to keep.
Oh, this is the part I'm going to keep.
Maybe some of it.
Oh, no, it is a pretty place, but I have never and don't have the money to play on the golf course. And I do have a statement from the man who wrote, "Hasn't there been enough?" I mean,
that was our president, Jay Rios.
Why isn't there a consensus of everybody in that meeting on why hasn't there been enough? No, there hasn't been enough freedom of speech in there without somebody getting mad on the board and putting the gavel down and saying, we're done with this meeting. It's dismissed.
Part of that's probably my fault because I posted a lot of things on here that were negative about the management.
I knew it was your fault.
It was my fault. And I'll take blame for that.
Oh, great. Well, thank you very much.
All right. Well, Ruth, I sure appreciate it. Thank you very much for being here, and hope everything works out good, and they get those cracks filled in at your place. I tell you what
we're
you
all
do.
cracked up.
This winter, if they don't ice your steps, you call me and I'll come in and do it for you. Okay, I also told you we would have a friend of mine to talk to you and explain some things that's happened around here. He's a former board member, Mr. John Freed. John, how you doing?
Doing great. I'm very blessed.
I feel the same way, and we're all blessed to be here at Point Royale. Even though that we think it's a great place to live, doesn't mean it can't be improved. So John's going to explain some things today. I think the first thing we're going to go over is Jay Reese's letter that he sent out to everybody that I commented on last week. So John's got a couple of comments about that.
I had an issue, not as thorough as what you went through. You and Connie did a good job on that. My concern's on his fourth paragraph that he had sent out, that letter to all the owners on September the 9th. Quoting here, he says, reach out to a proper source, such as a staff or board member, for clarification when needed. As an owner, you have a right to question why an action has been taken or was taken, or an expenditure was made. Well, I sent Jay a letter, but not mentioned in that list involved the amount of the research charges. It is totally unreasonable to expect an owner on lower fixed income to request document information and have to pay $70 an hour. I totally understand the need to charge for photocopies, and I do not feel that either 5 cents or 10 cents is an excessive cost. Therefore, I can only believe that people of higher income will be able to request information. Sounds like discrimination to me. Please see the attached link. Sincerely, John Freed. I sent this strictly to Jay, nobody else. Okay. Nobody had a copy. Nobody knows about it till now.
And what has Jay said about that since you sent it to him 9 days ago?
Not a word. I have not heard
back. You haven't heard anything from him?
No. Issue 1, every year we have an independent accounting firm conduct an audit of our financial transaction. Question to Jay was, how did they miss the loan, quote, that is causing you so much grief with the IRS that a property owner had to bring it to your attention? Issue 2, however, I ask that your inquiries be legitimate and done in a respectful manner. I'm still waiting for the office to follow our governing documents to provide the legitimate request of records that I did in a respectful manner as of August 11th. That's 42 days ago. I'm still waiting. Number 5, please keep in mind that this simple explanation doesn't address the not-for-profit and for-profit tax issues that was identified and are currently working to resolve. Thanks to Rick and Connie McBroom for bringing this issue to the surface. The financial fiasco our association would be in. Again, like them or not, thanks Rick and Connie McBroom for shedding light on a very dark portion of our financial situation. As a POA board member, during the golf renovation assessment, I was unaware of any loan from POA to golf. That was all the information given to me as a board member. And then my last comment or question on this one is number 6. Several years ago, a finance committee was instituted to provide financial oversight for all financial transactions. The Finance Committee has 4 Point Royale owner members. It seems that in their extensive experience, they overlooked the missing item that would have shown the POA Golf received $1.5 million. What I sent back in August the 11th, I will not fill out their form. I will not make myself liable to $70 an hour of unknown hours of research. As an owner of property in Point Royale, and according to the governing document, bylaws of Point Royale, Article 4, Section 2, Subsection T, I submit a request to examine such records and vouchers authorizing the payment, which shall be available for examination by member at convenient hours of weekdays. The records and vouchers I'm requesting to see are the ones regarding payments to any and all attorneys for 2018 and 2019. Please let me know when this can be handled, quote, at convenient hours of weekdays. Sincerely, John Freed. And I got a letter back from Misty that said, okay, fill out the form and we'll be glad to help you.
See, what happened here was I requested information 3 separate times. The first 2 times I was told I had to pay $12 an hour. The third time when I asked for information, I guess I was rubbing them a little bit too close to things they didn't want me to find out. So then they made it $35 per hour to investigate, to find the documents I want. Then I had to pay another $35 per hour to someone to sit with me while I looked through the documents.
So that's the $70.
That's where it comes up to $70 per hour. But at the same point, there's 4 different places in our bylaws that says we're entitled to these documents, and yet nowhere does it say that you're going to have to pay this money for that. Something else come up about this, and I'll let you finish here, is that I brought this up to some of our present board members, and they said they didn't know anything about it. When I asked Misty about it, she said the board members approved this. I found out later that what she said was they knew about it. And I guess that means if they know about it, it's approved. You were a former board member. Is that how you guys did business then? If Misty just were to tell you something, does that mean it's approved?
Well, let me go. The procedure should be, let's put it that way. The procedure should be that board member 1 makes a motion, board member 2 may second the motion, let's vote on it. And they call it to then once it's seconded, you have a discussion. And then after the discussion, you can take a vote. There's no legitimate action taken on this issue. It's just something that came out of that office.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I've even got emails from the board members that knew nothing about it as proof that they didn't know anything about it. So,
well, the other concern,
more business as usual.
The other concern I have about this form, the record requested column. I understand that. I don't mind filling out a record request form. Be glad to do that. Reason and purpose of request. It is nobody's business what I want to do with this information. This is information I'm entitled to. I have no business with that. In Jay's letter to us, he mentioned that they want to keep a record of how these things are processed and all that. I don't care what they want. They must obey the bylaws.
Well, you know, I filled those forms out and I also paid those fees to get the information I wanted. Otherwise, none of us would have the information we have today. The way I filled those out was basically interest and review. So you can always put whatever you want on there, I guess. There's no stipulation of what you have to put on there, but I do understand that.
And just kind of, I guess, in closing here, Rick, you mentioned something to me about one of your folks you'll be interviewing coming up that had some issues with being lien put on their property and excessive interest and late payments or whatever. Right. Not excessive interest, but excessive.
Right. She had some pretty bad luck in her life. Her and her husband both moved here expecting to retire here like many of us do. His health went bad. Hers went after that. And I don't want to go into the whole story, but basically what happened here was they wound up not being able to pay the fees because of the health issues and the cost for that. And they wound up getting a lien filed against their property. And in such, they actually wound up losing their entire property because of that. And the way I understand it was, I guess the board had no choice but to have to file these liens. Is that correct?
Because Article 11, Section 7 says, under the non-payment assessment, in there it does say the office may file a lien. It does not say
so it's not a requirement.
Not a requirement, and that is something to be considered because you have hardship cases. Our general manager, they do not run the board, but the board seems to think they do. The board needs to know the bylaws. You've got to know them. And then the covenants are important. They're not going to change for a long time. The covenants are important, but the bylaws run this organization.
At least they're supposed to run it.
Yes.
They're supposed to follow the bylaws. We're supposed to follow the bylaws, and so is everybody else out here, especially our managers, people in the office, and the board members. Unfortunately, the board members do what they want. They don't do what they're supposed to do. And when I say that, I'm not talking about every board member. There's exceptions to that. We've got 3 or 4 right now that I think are good on the board. they're doing a good job, and hopefully maybe after this next election we'll be able to do better. So we'll see how things turn out.
Well,
John, listen, I appreciate you coming by, but anyway, John, thank you very much.
You're
I
very
appreciate
welcome.
it.
Well,
And
Rick, thank you again for bringing this to light.
okay, my pleasure. Hopefully it does some well. We'll see you next time. Bye now.